Hi guys, today is another What I'm Reading video where I talk about the current book or books I'm reading at the moment. And so currently I am, or I should say was, with one of the books anyway, currently reading Stoneblind and Medusa. Now Medusa I have finished. I finished this in a day. It is a very short book. It's a YA book, so it is a very easy read. And then Stoneblind, I did think I was going to be finished this by the time I filmed this video because I've only got about 30 pages left, but I've been so busy today that I haven't had a chance to read, so I will most likely finish this tonight. But I am glad that I've still got a little bit left, because when I first thought about the idea of filming this series, I did want it to be on the book I was currently reading. So yeah, haven't quite finished this book, but I'm going to give my thoughts on the books today. Planning on not revealing any spoilers with these books. However, I did want to talk to you about the myth of Medusa. So these two books are based on the myth, so if you are not aware of the myth of Medusa and you don't want to hear this part because you're worried that knowing the myth will spoil the books for you, you can skip this part. I will leave on screen now the time you can move to skip over this part where I talk about the myth of Medusa. I first became aware of Medusa from the 1981 film Clash of the Titans, which was a film that my dad really enjoyed, and he liked to show me his favourite parts of the film when I was younger, and one of the scenes was the scene with Medusa. So like with a lot of other people, I first saw Medusa as a monster, as a villain, somebody who turned people to stone at first look of her. And then it was only later on that I read about the myth of Medusa and started to see things differently, very differently actually, because how the myth goes is that Medusa was once a very beautiful woman. She was not a gorgon, she didn't have snakes for hair, she had apparently very beautiful hair, and the god Athena was in fact very jealous of Medusa's beauty and the attention that she got. One god in particular was very interested in Medusa, and this was Poseidon. And Poseidon, he kept pursuing Medusa, who wasn't interested in him. She wanted to remain pure, a virgin for the god Athena. And then one day Poseidon attacked Medusa, and so she ran into Athena's temple pleading to the goddess to help her, and Athena did not, and so Medusa was raped by Poseidon in Athena's temple. And then after this, Athena ended up punishing Medusa for what had happened in her temple, and cursed her, turned her into a gorgon, saying to her that she would never be able to look at a man again. So yeah, the myth of Medusa is actually extremely tragic. After knowing about this myth, I no longer saw Medusa as a monster, which are what these two books are also telling. They're not telling Medusa as the monster, but more as the victim that she was. Like with my other What I'm Reading video, my look today is inspired by the books I'm reading, so I just wanted to show you my outfit, and also the makeup I've done today is also inspired by Medusa, although I was originally planning on going a bit more artistic with my makeup, a lot more glam, but as I said, I've been really busy today and I didn't have a lot of time to do my makeup, so I literally put this together in about 15 minutes. So now for the outfit. I absolutely love this top. It's this netted material and it's patterned with this snake skin. I think it's gorgeous and perfect for my Medusa inspired look today. I'm also wearing this black skirt And then for the leggings. So they're also decorated in this snakeskin pattern, but because the leggings are slightly different colour from the top, it looks like I've got two different snake patterns going on today, which I think is okay. I still think it works, and I really did want to wear both items today because these are the only two clothing items I have that are decorated with a snakeskin pattern. Also, this is a bit random, but I thought before I start talking about the books, I thought I would try these Haribo snakes just for fun. I've never had these before. It says one side sweet, one side is sour. So I want to give those a go. When I was reading yesterday, I did help myself to these snakes. These are some just jelly snakes. They are nearly all gone. I haven't got many left. So I haven't got snakes on my hair today, but I have got them in a form of a gummy sweet. I was trying to pull a snake apart because I noticed that all the snakes were stuck together. And I think that is how it's supposed to be. When it said one side is sweet and one side is sour, I assumed that the head was sweet, for instance, and the tail was sour, but no, there's two snakes stuck together. So I've got the purple and the orange one, and these are apparently cherry and orange flavour. You also have blueberry, blackcurrant, and apple and lemon. And the orange side is meant to be the sour side, so we will see. I'll go sour first. Oh, that's more sour than I thought it was going to be. Surprisingly have a bit of a kick. Try the sweet side. Much prefer the sweet side. Anyway, now to get on with what I think to the books. So starting with Medusa, this is written by Jessie Burton. Like I said, this is a YA book. It is very short. It only has 171 pages. Also at the end of the book too, you have some reading group questions, which I think is quite cool. This book is literally all about Medusa and also Perseus. And in the Greek myth, Perseus was sent to kill Medusa. And so in this book, the two of them, they meet for the first time, and it's kind of like a bit of a romance book, really. And through the two of them meeting, although Perseus can't see Medusa, so pretty much all of the book is with Medusa hiding behind a rock, basically, when they have this conversation together, and they both tell of their stories, so you learn a bit about their myths, both of them. So I think it is a great book to introduce you to Medusa and the myth. If you're interested in learning about her, I think this is a good book to read. I think that the ending is definitely more suited for the audience this book is intended for. I myself, I found this book okay. I wasn't as gripped, I wasn't as excited when reading it, and also perhaps because I was already aware of the myth, so I already knew pretty much about this book while I was reading it, so it didn't excite me as much. But saying that, I still didn't dislike the book, I still enjoyed reading it, and as I said, it is a good book to read if you want to learn about the myth. And I also really liked Medusa's character in this book. I also didn't mind Perseus's character in the book either. So yeah, I think it's an interesting book to read if you want to learn about Medusa. The other book like I said, I'm currently reading nearly to the end, about 30 pages left to go, is Stone Blind. This was written by Natalie Haynes, and I will say that this is actually the first Natalie Haynes book I've read, and I want to read probably all of the books that Natalie Haynes has written, because she writes a lot of Greek mythology books. I love reading Greek mythology books. They're one of my favourite genre books to read, so I am very interested in reading her other works. But yeah, this is the first one of her books I've read, and I am so glad that I have read it. I was really into this book from the first chapter. I remember texting my friend when I was on maybe like chapter 4 saying she has got to read this book because I loved it, really loved it. And I couldn't put it down to start with. But I did find that as the book went on, I wasn't as excited with it as I was from the beginning. That's not to say that I grew bored of the book. I was still really, really interested in it. I just found that I was more into it at the start, I would say the first half of the book. And the two biggest differences I will say from this one to this one is, of course, this one isn't a YA book, so it's more for adults. And also, even though it is a book about Medusa, it's Medusa's story, Medusa is not the main character in this book. In fact, she isn't in the book a lot at all, which is the slight negative for me with this story. I didn't find it ruined the book that Medusa wasn't the main character, because I really like reading about the Greek gods too. One of my favourite Greek gods is Hermes, and he has quite a big role in this book. Each chapter, by the way, is kind of like focused on different characters, and so it's different people telling the stories. I also find it helpful too that at the start of the book she's listed the different characters in the book. So if you're not as familiar with the Greek gods, that's quite helpful to look at. But I found that my favourite chapters were the chapters that were focused on Medusa. So I just found myself wanting to hear more from Medusa and her sisters as well. But I still really enjoyed the book. I definitely recommend it. I'm so glad that I did read it. I keep saying it like I finished the book. I have still got 30 pages left, but I'm pretty sure that I'm still going to love this book once I finished it. And also, this book really made me cry as well. But that's not too shocking for me, because I do cry quite easily just from like the simplest sentence can get me. But it is quite rare that a book really makes me cry. I did find myself choking up a little bit near the beginning of this book. Straight away I thought, oh, here we go. But that's just like me with a lot of books. I always find myself getting a bit choked up. But I can't say that many books have actually physically made me like break down, and this one did make me break down. Yeah, I cried a lot with this book. I just absolutely love the relationship, the loving, wholesome relationship that Medusa has with her sisters. Yeah, I just love Medusa and her sisters' chapters in this book. There is actually a book that is about Medusa's sisters, which I really want to read now, so I am going to look out for that book sometime, because I did find myself falling in love with Medusa's sisters as well. And I don't really know a lot about Medusa's sisters actually. I don't always like the 5-star system. I don't always think it's a great way of rating a book, but I always like to do it anyway. So I have given this book 4 stars and I've given this one 3 stars. So just to conclude, I recommend both books really, especially if you're interested in Medusa and hearing her story. Thank you very much for watching this video. Let me know if you have read either one of these books and your thoughts on them, and I will see you in my next one.